Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dirt Bags and Pinstripes, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox, and David, man, we've been waiting for this one for a long time, and we finally got him. Donny Cruz has joined the show tonight. Donny, thanks for coming on tonight, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate the invite.
It's awesome to have him. We're going to get in a lot with him later on in the show. We're going to talk about his career. He was a teammate of ours at Tennessee Temple University, and we're going to talk a lot of baseball with him as we move along here in the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Donny was a really good friend of ours, so this is very exciting for us. We've been looking forward to this one. So once again, man, thanks so much. And David, we're going to get right to it, man. This is a crazy off season with all the signings that have been going on. One of them we didn't really get to last week because it happened right as the show was going on. And I need your help on this one, man, because I'm not knowing too much about Masataka Yoshida going to the Red Sox to kind of counter the Judge move. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is a guy that I really kind of was interested in for the Yankees. He's a high on base percentage guy, a gap hitter. Some of the Japanese hitters, it doesn't translate as well, and then some of them are awesome. The Cubs saw that this past year. So good hitter. Honestly, I thought it was a pretty reasonable contract, so I think this is probably a good signing for the Red Sox.
So looking at his stature, 5'8", 176 pounds. That's not exactly the biggest thing. I mean, he's got an inch on me, and I've got about the same poundage on him. So this is a guy that's not very big at all, and he gets a 5-year, $90 million contract. So good on him. He's obviously got something going for him here, and he's got a lot of pop in that bat, I guess. Is he a left-handed hitter, David?
Yeah, he's a lefty, and I don't remember all the former major leaguers that had saw him in Japan, but basically they all say, "Hey, man, this guy's legit." I heard one guy say he never slumps. He's always making contact, and again, that's something the Yankees could have really used with all the strikeouts in that lineup.
Yeah, and so the Red Sox continue to make me scratch my head a little bit, David. And with all the moves of Blue Jays, the Yankees have been doing, the Red Sox have been really, really quiet, and they made a signing here, but the big one they lost is Xander. This is crazy because Xander Bogaerts was an absolute stud for them for many, many years, and he goes to a loaded Padres team, David. So you don't get any better losing Xander Bogaerts, and that's a problem here for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I have no idea what the Red Sox are doing. So if they knew they weren't going to keep Xander, you got to trade him at the deadline. They were over the luxury tax. We've talked about this on the show before. Honestly, he got crazy money, so I can't blame the Red Sox for not wanting to go there. 11 years, $280 million. I'd like to have like a month of that and probably live off of it for a while. But anyway, that's a lot of money to give to a guy who probably can't stay at shortstop. But the Red Sox are just a mess. They don't have any pitching right now, and they've lost one of their best hitters. Devers, I'm sure, is sitting back looking at that thinking, man, I don't know if I want to sign here. So I have no idea what they're doing.
So moving on to the Padres a little bit, that lineup is absolutely ridiculous. And when Tatis gets back, these guys are going to be very hard to beat with that lineup 1 through 9 of Soto, Tatis. You got Machado. Now you just added Xander. There's no holes in this lineup. Do you think that they've made a big noise here to where watch out Dodgers, or you still think the Dodgers are the team to beat?
I definitely think they're crowding the Dodgers, but I'm not as convinced as you are, DJ, just to be honest with you. I still got some holes in that rotation. The lineup is obviously really great. That's going to be able to go up against anybody, but I'm just not quite as convinced.
So it's the starting pitching that's bothering for you? You, Darvish, Snell, Musgrove not doing it for you?
Musgrove's awesome, and Darvish is awesome. I'm not a big Snell guy. I don't know. Like I said, they've definitely improved, but I'm not sure that they improved in the areas they need to improve. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, this is a deep lineup, man. And so one of the things too that has been rumored to happen is, have you seen the Tatis Jr. rumors to the Yankees?
Yes, I have. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, hey, I could see this happening. Obviously, the Yankees would have to give the farm for him, but it seems like he's kind of worn out his welcome there in San Diego, and it'd be a good place for the Yankees to swoop in. I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I just don't know if you're the Padres, if that makes any sense whatsoever to try to go backwards a little bit. But Xander gets 11 years, 280 million. This has drawn all the shortstops in this free agent class. The money has gone up big time because of these moves. We then saw Carlos Correa last night, David, get a 13-year deal with the Giants. It's unbelievable that these guys are handing out these long contracts to these players. I would have never thought anybody would have ever got a 13-year contract in MLB, and it just kind of blows my mind. And I don't really know what the Giants are doing, but I guess they're going to try to build around him for the rest of the next 13 years. What are your thoughts on that signing?
Yeah, guys, had I known there was all this much money in baseball, that I wouldn't have become an insurance agent. I just would have just stuck with it. No, I'm just kidding. But that Correa, man, I mean, 13 years, that is nuts. I'm assuming this means the end of Brandon Crawford. What do you think about that?
Ooh, this is the final year of his contract, so I don't know what they're going to do with him. That's a good point. They're probably moving on from him, and this is a guy that almost won the MVP a couple years ago for the Giants. He was that good, so it'd be interesting to see what they do with him, David. I didn't even think of that when I saw that. But that news broke, I believe, around midnight. I was taking the dog outside, and it was on the screen. Some of these deals are happening like in the wee hours of the morning, and so just a long contract there for him. I don't know what to think of it. Mitch Haniger, I'm a big fan of, but I don't know what the Giants are doing, man. They're really far away, and they've got the Dodgers and the Padres in that division. So I just don't know if this is going to do too much for them. I feel like they're in that boat. You know, they got to do a whole lot more. And I feel like the Rangers a little bit. Rangers 2.0, maybe the National League version of the Rangers. And I don't know. I think that it's good that they missed out on Judge. So they had to do something. But another move they just made is they got Ross Stripling to add to that rotation. Ross Stripling has been sneaky good for the last few years, with the Toronto Blue Jays there. So they gave him a 2-year deal for 25. What are your thoughts on that, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, if there can be a bargain at $12 million a year, he probably is one. Short contract. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but there's been several guys in that range. Sean Manaea. I thought the deal for Syndergaard today was a steal, man. The Dodgers got him for $13 million a year for 1 year. So it seems like there's a big gap between these guys that are getting a ton of money, like Rodon's going to get, Verlander, DeGrom, and then there's the next level that's more reasonable, on the contract or whatever. So I thought Stripling was a good signing.
Sean Manaea struggled mightily with the Padres. He had a really rough year there, so hopefully he can rebound for the Giants there because they gave him a 2-year deal as well. Another guy that the Giants did add here. The Twins got Christian Vasquez, 3 years, $30 million. This is the guy the Cubs were rumored in on doing. Man, the Cubs are not doing too much, Donny. It's very bad up here in the northern part. I got nothing, man. It feels like we're not taking a step forward. Bellinger was a signing, but then we lose our best player in Contreras, and then we did sign Tyon, but it's been really quiet on the Cubs front. I've just read a bunch of things tonight. They're number 1 for Swanson. I don't believe it. And I think Swanson's number has gone through the roof as well. With these guys getting $300 million contracts, Dansby Swanson's going to get a lot of money as well, David. So what are your thoughts on Swanson, where he'll end up?
I've said all along, I thought he'd be a good fit with the Cubs. Donnie, don't worry. DJ's sounding down now, but come March, we'll have this podcast, and he'll have him number 1. He never gives up on him. Last year, Frank Schwindel was their first baseman, and DJ, have you even heard of him? I haven't heard of him either. DJ didn't care. They're number 1 in his heart, so don't worry. All's not lost.
Cubs are still in Chicago, right?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So I was making sure I was thinking the right team. Just messing with you, man.
Throwing the jabs
we
right?
have no team in Jacksonville, so got
Are you a Rays
nothing
fan,
for
Donnie?
you, buddy. I watched the Cubs more growing up. Cubs in Atlanta more than anything because WGN.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Every afternoon we got home from school, we'd either watch the Cubs or Atlanta Braves. So
There you go.
There's a soft spot for them there.
And that's something that I've always, with everybody we pretty much had on the show here is everybody pretty much says the same thing. And it's so true. And I guess I didn't realize it when I was, growing up as a teenager and, because that was the local games. And I just didn't understand, I guess, that everybody was seeing the Cubs nationally. Like, I didn't know that until probably I got into college and started, everybody said they grew up watching the Cubs and that WGN was like a national thing.
Right.
And didn't know that. And so, yeah, I mean, I always watched the Braves. So that made sense to me because it was on TBS. So
Yeah.
you'd watch the Braves and the Cubs and obviously the White Sox here too, because they're local as well. But that was the three teams that you would watch. And then on Saturday, you would get like the game of the week. And that was about it. Now you can watch everything, which is really cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, Di, that's a good point, man, for sure. So David, the A's trade Sean Murphy to the Braves. The Braves then sent William Contreras to the Brewers on a 3-team deals. Catcher swapping here. What are your thoughts on that trade?
Man, I love this trade really all the way around, but the Brewers, sneaky, as usual. The A's got like 4 of the top 10 prospects from the Braves and a top 10 prospect from the Brewers, so you can't beat that. And the Braves got their guy, man. Sean Murphy, that's going to be an upgrade, but I think everybody won on this deal.
Yeah, good baseball trade here. William Contreras was an all-star last year, and he's out the door, and they've got brought in Murphy. I think they want him to be the catcher moving forward, and they also got Travis DiNardo too. So I don't know what they're going to do with him, and we'll see what they do with him as well. So they got some depth there at catching. Murphy's got like the second fastest pop time in the majors. I did not know that about him. His defense is pretty solid. He's a really good, solid defensive catcher and can throw out everybody that tries to steal on him. So this is a really good trade for the Braves. The Braves are putting the pieces in, man. They're going to be there long term. There's not much left, which I think Dansby's going to be the one out the door for Grissom to take over at short, and then he'll eventually get a deal as well. So these guys are doing it right, man. They're building the team from within. They're getting their pieces in place, and they're signing them long term here. So Blue Jays get Chris Bassett and Kevin Kiermaier. David, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really like Bassett. Kiermaier, I mean, he's a great defensive center fielder, but I don't think that moves the needle much from, I think Jackie Bradley was their center fielder last year. So that's an even swap, but Bassett's a good pitcher. It's a good pickup.
Yeah, I like this as well. Kevin Kiermaier, I love the defense as a center fielder myself. Just a big fan of that guy who just goes and gets it. Doesn't hit a ton, but, they were talking about moving George Springer to a corner. They don't want him roaming center as much anymore because he's getting hurt a lot. So I think that's part of what this move is. Now they've got 4 pretty good outfielders. So maybe one of those guys DHs and then Springer can go to a corner. It's kind of the thinking I was having on this and what I was hearing on MLB Network as well that they were talking about with this move. So that's kind of what's going on there. So yeah, a lot more signings this week, David. It's going to be a whole lot more going in next week as well. And then the last one we'll talk about here, the Mets continue to bolster their rotation. We just talked about them getting Verlander, and then they get Kodai Senga, also from the Japanese league. 5 years, $75 million, and he's never played a day of Major League Baseball, which blows my mind. And I don't know, man. Baseball is very, very good to everybody now. So what are your thoughts on that move?
Yeah, man. I mean, the Mets, I know you love it. They're going to be they're going to be up there this year, man. I mean, I think they put the right pieces into place. I think Cohen has spent like $325 million for payroll already this year, and they say they're not done. So pretty exciting. I thought it was a good baseball move. That's going to be like their 4th or 5th starter. So I mean, that's a pretty good guy to have.
Yeah, and they added Jose Quintana, who had a sneaky good year last year somehow at 33, and everybody thought his career was over, and he's also a piece that's added. Joey Lucchesi is also in their mix for them. They've got about 8 different options to go with there. So, they lost DeGrom, they lost Walker, they lost one more guy who's not popping into my head right now, but their rotation is going to be solid, man. And they're making moves, and this team is moving forward as well, like the Braves are, like the Phillies are. The NL East is going to be very good next year, David. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Donnie. So we're done with that nonsense, man. So here we go, buddy. This is exciting. I'm once again excited to have you on. So first of all, man, let's start when you were really young as a kid. Okay, let's go with a few questions here. You can talk for a little while. First of all, kind of tell us who introduced you to the game of baseball, how you started loving the game as a kid. Talk about the MLB perspective of it as well. Like, like you were talking about the Braves and the Cubs, watching them, and maybe some of your favorite players growing up?
Honestly, as I was telling y'all before, I had two older brothers. I had a brother that was about a year and a half older than me, and a brother that was about 6.5 years older. My dad was a police officer. We lived on school grounds, so we moved to an elementary school in a double wide trailer that was also attached to a big ballpark, football fields, baseball fields, basketball courts. So we were always outside. We were never inside. If you were on restriction, you weren't allowed to go outside. So it's a little bit different than nowadays. So I think we just naturally grew up. I mean, my dad, and he was playing for the sheriff's office, playing football and softball and things. So we just think everything we did was outside and around athletics. And growing up with older brothers, you kind of had to learn to survive. We were always kind of, when I played football, I played up a level. When I played baseball, sometimes I played up a level. A lot of times they would let me play up with my brothers one level up. So, growing up, honestly, I didn't watch a lot of sports. Baseball, I didn't, honestly, I hated watching baseball growing up. It's funny because that's my love is baseball, but I didn't ever really want to watch it until probably 7th, 8th grade, maybe. And that's when I started watching the Atlanta Braves and the Cubs and Andre Dawson getting drilled in the mouth, and Maddox, and just every time you'd come home in the afternoon, WGN was on and the Cubs were on and they were playing somebody, so, and I always loved the respect part of baseball. You look at people like Nolan Ryan and, obviously McGuire and all them were, back in those times, but Nolan Ryan was one I always remembered, that just the respect level, just a legend like that. One thing I'd tell my wife about baseball and stuff is, one thing I love about baseball is it's a team sport, but at some point you got to go stand there in the box. And at that point you're by yourself. And if you got a big mouth, chances are that pitcher's going to fill it for you. So, so I love the respect part, and, it's a team sport, but it's also got the individual aspect. So growing up, we, not like the kids today, we didn't play baseball year round. Baseball it had its season, and we played it, and we played football, and we played basketball, and we, played the different sports, but played a lot of cup ball around the ball fields, finding a bunch of old, Coke cups and putting them together. I'm probably aging myself. I don't know if y'all ever did that, but we had a nice little cup ball field, and, we stayed outside all the time and played. But honestly, I didn't watch a lot of sports until I got a little bit older. As I was telling y'all before, I played pretty much since I was 4 years old up until high school. So I was playing a lot of, recreation ball, not really any Legion ball or anything like that. We had all-stars and things like that, but it's not to the extent that it is nowadays. So I played up and played in junior high. And then when I went to high school, I played my sophomore year because they didn't have freshmen there. Back then, freshman was in ninth grade, was in junior high. So I played through junior high, and then I played my sophomore year, made the varsity team and played. And actually ended up, as I was telling y'all, I decided to go surfing a lot here in Florida, and didn't like academics as much. So I decided I was going to go with some coaches who've been after me a little bit to come play at a Christian school down the road that I'd played for some time back, and actually went there. Unfortunately, they didn't have a baseball team. So I got real heavy into basketball. We ended up winning state, played whatever sports they had. And that's why my ankles are the way they are. And so I didn't really touch with baseball for a couple of years, 2-3 years. And after I graduated high school, I got with the athletic director and I said, hey, we really need to start a baseball team. I mean, that's really what the school's missing. So we picked out a spot out in a big grassy field and laid some clay and put some fence up and started a junior high baseball team. And that's really what got me back to playing. Even when I coached a few years ago, I'm pitching, I'm sliding. Good example, I coached a couple years back, and I come home and my ankle's all bloody, and my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, it's teaching the kids how to slide. And she's like, why is your ankle bleeding? I was like, because I was teaching him how to slide. And she's like, well, why is your ankle bleeding? I'm like, because I was sliding. It's just one of them things that I'm hands on in everything I do. So, and it was like that when I was coaching the junior high team. So I was pitching and throwing, and that kind of got me back thinking about ball. And a few of the teachers I had gone to TTU and were alumni. So I was telling y'all about the story when I went up there, and I wasn't really expecting to try out. And I used the coach's daughter's softball glove, and we went out there in the field and threw some around and hit some, and ended up making the team and played for him winter ball, but blew out my arm, and came back, took a couple of years off, ran a kayak shop, built my arms back up, and came back to school a couple of years later, and that's when I met you guys. So it's kind of a different career for me. It was didn't really have a lot of good coaching growing up. No offense to the coaches I had, but they were dads that never really played a lot of ball. They didn't really have a whole lot of skill. And my the head high school baseball coach was an offensive line coach for the football team that was just coaching baseball, and he didn't know much about baseball. He watched a couple videos and tried to tell us how to hit, and so I didn't really have much coaching. It was more just hanging out with the brothers and getting out there and playing, and just a love for it. I think the biggest thing with me is hopefully you guys have the same opinion, but I go all out usually when I play. I dive. It's even nowadays, I get out there and I'll have a hard time not diving. I'll go head first for a ball tomorrow if I had the chance. It's just one of those things when you love the smell of the grass, love the smell of the field. I smell cut grass, I immediately think baseball.
Yeah.
It's just I love baseball up and down. It's funny because I was telling you I don't watch a lot anymore. When I played and when I was coaching, I watched it all the time. I don't know if it's because when I'm not playing, it makes me miss baseball, so I don't really watch it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely my first love as far as sports. So, but it was good. So growing up was a little bit different, and I wasn't a baseball guy kind of going into college. I kind of meandered my way back into it.
One of the things that I really like, and we have everybody on this show, is everybody's got such a different story on how they got to Temple and how their whole path leading up to it was. So Donnie, talk a little bit about that first stint that you had at Temple. How long were you there for? How was the team? Just talk about that before me and David got there, how the depth of your team, some of the players you played with, the coaches. Just kind of talk a little bit about the dynamic of Tennessee Temple baseball the first time you came around.
I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was actually great. Coach Templeton was a great coach. He a lot of the guys there were a little bit older, so it was a neat environment. I only played one semester. I didn't make it to the regular season because I tore up my shoulder so bad in tryouts, and I played through the season, but my arm was hanging so bad that I ended up going home after that first semester, and I think it probably a good year before my arm was even really feeling good again. And I got into kayaking, and I was always paddling and guiding tours and surfing hurricane waves, and amazingly, I built my shoulders back up. And when I went back, I never had a shoulder issue the entire time, which was pretty neat because I was telling you guys, I couldn't even wash my hair. I couldn't lift my arm high enough. We had this little girl that was our trainer, and she said, I like you're emptying cans. And this little 5 foot nothing, 90-pound girl, she goes, okay, don't let me push your arm down. And she just pushed it straight down. And I was so mad. I was like, really? But it was kind of neat. It was probably a blessing in disguise because I probably wasn't at the point I needed to be there. But that first semester, I guess it was, that I played there, it was great. We played at Ingalls Stadium. There was a lot of great guys that played on that team, a lot of really skilled guys. Funny thing about my first home run. So my first home run, we were at Ingalls Stadium. I was a freshman in college that first semester. And it was one of the first couple of games I played. And I don't remember who it was against, but I tagged one out of left. and up and over the little train track there.
Oh,
And,
nice.
so I came around the bases, and of course everybody's super excited because I'm a freshman, first home run. And so when I come around third base, I'm coming down the home plate, and everybody's lined up on the side of the plate. They're patting me and knocking me and hit my helmet, give me high fives, all that. So I get in the dugout, sit down, I'm kind of on my high, and I look up and I see the umpire standing in my face, and he goes, "You're out." And I'm like, "What?" Didn't tag home plate.
Oh, what?
So my first college home run was an out. Yeah, and so the next time I hit a home run, I was surprised I didn't get plunked, because I hit a home run. I think it was the next game or two. I came around the bases, and everybody's pointing at the plate, and I decided to slap the plate with two hands. I'm sure the opposing team didn't appreciate that too much. That's kind of my first home run. Was pretty memorable because it was an out.
Oh, that is unbelievable,
But
man. That's
that was
so
a
crazy.
that was a fun team. A lot of guys were in the music video. I can't remember the name of that song now. Put Me in, Coach, or one of those old
Cheap
music
Seats.
videos was filmed there at Ingle Stadium. A lot of those guys were in it. It was a good group of guys. But coming back with a group that we played with, that was an equally fun group. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so talk a couple minutes to it. What do you think? So, did you ever get your shoulder diagnosed? Was it a torn rotator cuff? Did you never get it
I never
officially
went to
diagnosed?
a doctor. I wasn't a big one on doctors.
Yep.
I'm sure I probably tore it, and just the kayaking and the tight movement you do probably just strengthened everything around it. Probably, I'm sure it wasn't a complete tear; it wouldn't have healed, but it was pretty bad at the time. Because even after I came home, it took a long time for it to heal. But it had to have been something in I'm sure I tore a rotator cuff. It probably just wasn't a complete tear.
So talk about your second stint then when you came back in the fall of '98. What drew you back to Tennessee Temple University? How did all that process after being at the shop there for a couple of years? What drew you back to come back to play for us again?
Well, I was actually running the kayak shop, and I just kind of had one of those moments where I was like, this is great, it's fun, but at the end of the day, I need to finish. I need to go back and finish my education. And if this all fell apart where I'm at, which was nowhere, so I wanted to make sure I went back and got my education. I loved playing ball, loved coaching. Being I was already there was probably, I kind of knew it and knew the coaches. I called Coach Templeton and was like, "Hey, I'm feeling good. I'm thinking about coming back up." And he kind of welcomed me back up, and kind of just, I don't even know. I don't even remember trying out that year. I do remember.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
No way
kinda
you
went up.
had to.
Well, we tried out every year. They made us puke every year, I think, just about there. I think one of my favorite things was hearing all the new students coming in and going, "Oh yeah, I was an all-star this, I was an all-star that." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't even play in high school. Man, you must be pretty good." And then watching them puke during tryouts was always fun. They ran them pretty hard, but yeah, it was. I think just because I was kind of already had started there, and I knew the team, and I really wanted to go to a Christian school, and it was just a good situation. So the blessing that I had was obviously, not really having a real history of playing a lot during high school and everything. And I remember when I actually came up there, they were like, "Well, I really need a right fielder." And I said, "Well, heck, I've never played outfield in my life. I always played shortstop and pitched." And he said, "Well, I need a right fielder." I was like, "Well, I can catch fly balls and I got a decent arm, so put me in." So
Yeah.
I actually walked right into a starting position and stayed there. I think I want to say the very last game I probably played with you guys was at Tennessee Tech and up in Cooksville.
Oh
And I
yeah.
remember we were really hurting. We had a lot of injuries. I don't know if you remember, DJ, but I played third base.
Yeah.
wow.
Yes, I do.
Coach was like, I think Caldwell, was it Brian Caldwell? Is that right?
Yep.
Got hit in the face that game and shattered
Yes.
his whole sinus cavity.
Yes.
But yeah, that pitcher was crazy. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I played third base and I caught a couple ground balls. I remember Coach Bob Hall was like, "Man, I never knew you could play infield." I looked down and said, "Coach, I never played outfield till I came to college. Never a day in my life." So, but but it was nice to be able to walk right into a starting position because I think that's kind of what more players need to do.
Yep.
I like the fact that, I still do it. I was playing softball a year or two ago, and, I might play left, might play short, might play, you got to be able to play wherever, kind of more utility. So that's how you get out there. I'm not one. I appreciate the guys that, I want to be in the game. Put it that way.
Absolutely,
I
man.
was too old to sit back and hang out. I wanted to be in the middle of it. So wherever they could use me, I'd play.
So when I arrived in the fall of '98, your story kind of connects with mine a lot, Donnie. So I didn't know a single soul coming on to Tennessee Temple University. I'd been recruited there to go by Skinny, and
Skinny.
you remember old Skinny? Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he was
He's the
recruiting
one
me
that
with
made everybody
Gary.
puke.
Yeah, he was. You're exactly right. Yep. I remember he called me when Kerry Woodward had his 20 strikeout game. I'll never forget it. I was sitting there watching the greatest game I've ever seen pitched in my entire life. And I'm talking to Skinny, and he's telling me about Ingalls Stadium and what a huge draw Ingalls Stadium was for me to go down there, and like the Christian school thing, Ingalls Stadium. So there's a lot going for it. Good weather, which I was tired of playing up north with all the cold weather all year. I was just sick of that. So
Tennessee
draws
was
there.
cold.
Yeah, for you it
was
is.
freezing to me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For you, no doubt, Florida boy, right?
Yeah. It's not 98. We ain't playing.
Yeah, no kidding. So I arrived there, and Jason Price is in center field, obviously. So my spot's blocked by JP. So I ended up redshirting 98 to 99 season, and then going my freshman year, which was your last year. I had a freshman year, which I didn't play very much freshman year. And then I started 3 years after you left. So what happened then basically was because you, Shelton, and JP were out in the outfield, which what an awesome outfield that was, man.
That was a fun crew.
That's a crew right there, man. That's an outfield that a ball's not going to fall on right there for sure.
Yeah.
So that was a loaded outfield, and I was happy to learn so much from you guys as well about the college game and coming in there. And I'm really glad that I did redshirt because it gave me the 3 years of starting there. But you guys were it, man. Like I looked up to you guys so much, like because I had no idea what I was getting into, and you guys were college players, and it was something else. And I learned a lot from JP, and unfortunately, he passed away way too early in his life. And but man, I'll never forget, Donnie. I know I was in tryouts, and I'm on third base tagging up, and I came to tryouts in shorts, and I don't know what in the world.
What were you thinking?
I'm an idiot.
I'm an idiot. You slide all day long.
Yeah, you guys
did.
did.
Anybody shows up in shorts, we're having sliding practice.
Sorry. You guys razzed me for that. I deserved it. I know I deserved it, but I tagged up on a play. I go home and I slide. And I had, to this day, the largest raspberry I've ever had in my life was that day. And I had to put plastic bags on it to sleep and everything. It was brutal, man. It was so bad. But yeah, I totally got it from you guys for that one, but I well deserved it.
Yeah. I got a JP story for you if you got a second.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know if you guys were around that. I didn't pitch a whole lot. I didn't practice, that's for sure. There's a couple games, I don't know if you remember, they threw me in for some ungodly reason. But we were at Ingalls Stadium, and we were facing Trevecca. You remember Trevecca? I think they were at Nashville. And the big first baseman, big old country farm fed boy, come up, left-hander, and I threw
steroid fed.
Yeah, I threw that kid a fastball that he hit, and when he hit it, I was like, "Oh my God, that ball is not coming back." And I mean, I don't know if you remember this, he smashed that ball, and I just like was shaking my head, and I had plenty of time to shake my head and turn around before it ever came down, and I turned around, and all I saw was elbows and butt. I'll keep it clean. Going out the other way, JP, he was fast as all get out. And JP looked up over his head and caught that ball and went face first into the berm.
Oh my goodness.
Ingalls Stadium goes to a point. That was probably a 500-foot shot for an out.
Wow.
That big old guy just looked at me. He looked at me on the mound, and I just threw my hands up, just laughed. I was like, dude, he's in center, not me. I would have never caught that.
That's amazing.
Probably the longest ball that guy's ever hit was an out. JP JP ran it down, man. I was just laughing. I was like, to catch it on that berm, anybody knows that field, it's
That's a
500 and
bomb.
something in the middle there. And it was all the way back. It would have killed the camel back in the day. But so yeah, that was my old JP story. He was a good guy. He kept me awake many nights driving. It was always fun.
Those late night van rides, you always drove the van for us, and I'm sure he kept you up with his stories and his loud, squeaky voice. And
Yeah, it was good kid.
no doubt, man. And so talk about Ingalls Stadium, man. So talk about playing there, the atmosphere. I mean, me and David talk about it all the time how lucky we were to have that place as our home field. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I remember we would go there and help out the groundskeeper and stuff. We go paint the stadium and during the getting the ballpark ready for the season. Just to be able to play on that level of field. I remember the groundskeeper at he was the one particular year. This one gentleman was there. I don't remember his name now, but he was trying to work his way up to the major leagues. So he had that place just immaculate. But I remember he stopped me one time. He goes, "Watch this," and he took the baseball and he rolled it down the line, and he rolled it to where it looked like it was going to go foul, and then when it hit the line, it just hooked on the line and stayed right on the line. And he was like, "That's home field advantage." So he would
Nice.
actually take the foul lines and he would pack them at just a slight angle. So his team knew that when it looked like it was going foul, it would hit that line and hug down the line. So it was
Wow.
just those little things like that. And for an outfielder, never was an outfielder to college, but with the brick dust out there on the side and just the manicured grass, and with my bad ankles, I appreciated the nicely manicured area. So yeah, Ingalls Stadium was just great. That big wall saved a lot of home runs out there and right for me.
Yeah.
But it was fun. You hit a ball out of there and it's just different. We hit a lot of balls out of little college parks and it goes over a little 6-foot fence, but when you jack one out of Ingalls Stadium, it just feels different. So
Oh, yeah.
it's and the old groundskeeper brought out a picture of Babe Ruth playing there back in the day. So the history there, amazing. And it was just a great ballpark to play at, so
Definitely the
was
nicest field,
yeah.
we played on the entire time we were there, pretty much.
Yeah,
Always
it
felt
was
that way.
great. Yeah, it was great. You remember DJ when we would do the camps and stuff there for the kids.
Yep.
And I used to hate having to leave and go get ready because it was so much fun teaching the kids out there on that field, because they would get out there on that field, just their eyeballs were this big and they're looking at us college players. And, halftime I didn't want to leave and go to the game. I just want to stay there and keep coaching.
Yep.
But no,
That's
it's
a
a
lot
great
of
field.
that's a lot of what drew me into the coaching, to be honest with you, is after college was over, I was like, tried a couple of things and my career actually ended there. And then so you just kind of remember those things that when we did that, as we taught the little kids, and it changed a lot of things for me. And I'm happy to end up doing what I do now with coaching high school and everything. But like you're saying, that was a big part of it too, is to see that kind of stuff. And it's really there's not a better job in the world to me, honestly, than what I do. Is to be able to coach high school baseball is a blessing, no doubt. So, but yeah, man, that's awesome time for sure. And then Donnie, so talk about Coach Hall, man. Coach Hall ended up taking over for Coach Templeton there, and talk a little bit about him and all he did for us, and your relationship with him as well.
Yeah, Coach Hall was just great. I mean, he was just, one of those guys that just true to the core, just honest guy, good people, never wanted to see anything bad to anyone, as I don't know, I can't say enough about him. I mean, he's great. And bringing that hot sauce was always fun.
Oh yeah. Amen.
The old hot barbecue sauce that everybody would try to drink. But no, he was just a great example of what a man should be. I mean, just a good husband, a good dad, a good coach, just a role model in life. And I think that's what I'm sure you're the same, DJ, from what I know of you. It's, people underestimate what coaches really are, for a lot of kids. it's
Sure.
their father figure, it's their teacher, it's their mentor. So, you know, Coach Hall was a great example of that, you know, just what a good man should be, you know, not just a baseball coach, but baseball goes outside in so many ways as far as your family life and your kids and your relationships. And so he was just a great example of everything you should be as a man. So a lot of appreciation to him. I think I get more of that than I do any of the coaching in the baseball. So baseball is baseball. So
Yep. Yeah, man. So he did have some words for you, Coach Hall.
Oh no,
I told
I
him you were
left him. He
coming
might be
on, man.
mad.
And he had this to say, man. He goes, Donnie, wow, that guy was a man among boys, and he's right about that. Like, we
It's 'cause I
always
was
thought of
old.
you, like we'd look at you. Well, it wasn't necessarily the oldness too. It was just like you look at Donnie, and it's like, man, he's built like the PlayStation guy. Like, you would build yourself, you'd create your body like Donnie. I'm being dead serious. So, and he said the same thing. He's a man among boys, great ball player. He was very even keel. That's what he said about you. He said that you didn't let anything get into your head when as a player. He really enjoyed having you as a member of the team. He wanted me to tell you that. And he said, "Oh yeah, he was the other van driver as well." We had to throw that in there.
Everybody tried to get on my van. No coaches.
And he was so older than a lot of you guys, and he had that maturity about him. And he kept everybody focused. So he had a lot of really good things to say about you, and he was excited to know that you were going to come on here tonight and talk some baseball with us, man. So, Coach Hall, like you were talking about, what a great guy. I mean, there's a lot of times, and as we got older, me and David have talked about this a lot. Like, we always wondered, like, we were fed so well throughout our college time, and that was him, man. Like, it wasn't the school. We ended up finding out like that was him, and just everything he did for us. Like, if it was up to the school, we would eat those soggy sandwiches for dinner and lunch. And
Oh man, I forgot about those.
yeah,
How could you forget it? Soggy roast beef.
JP used to fill me up those when I was driving, and he's like got all this stuff to keep me awake while I'm driving after playing 2 games. Yeah.
Oh man. So, Donnie, you got any more stories you wanted to share while you're on here? Anything baseball
Oh
wise?
man. Let's see. There's you know, talking about the respect side, not often the fans get pulled into it. I don't know if you I'm assuming you guys were playing with us. I don't even remember what school it was, but it's funny how, like I said, I love baseball because of the respect thing. It's like, you know, a lot of sports people can jaw and do this and do that, but baseball, you're going to get plunked. You run your mouth enough, you don't respect the game, you are going to get drilled, and you're probably going to get drilled every time. And we don't even care if we lose the game, you're going to get drilled. And I love that about baseball, because if you don't respect it, you're going to pay for it. And I don't know if you remember, one time we had some college guys that decided they were going to be a little disrespectful and sit right behind our dugout and razz us the whole time. Do you remember what I'm talking about? I don't know if you do. I don't know if you were playing catch with me, but I said, hey, get ready on the last one, where Shelton was out in left, I was in right, and they were behind our dugout over to my left, so I had the closest shot at them. There's a couple guys hanging around the fence. I think it was about 3 college guys, and we had enough of them. And so last ball, they called balls in, and I just, you know, buzzed the tower right over their head, good crow hops, hard as I could. And these guys looked, and they were ready to start jawing at me. And about that time, you know, Shelton had a cannon. He did that big old long arm, long leg crow hop he's got. And so mine went over their head this way. And about the time they come back up, Shelton's went across that way. And I think after that, they decided they might want to get their butts back around the right side of the field. So
That's
but
awesome.
that kind of sums up baseball. It's like, you know, even sometimes the fans might get into it, but we're going to get you. It was just good all the way around. I don't know. There's probably too many stories. I could watch it. We'll keep them all PG. Wasn't too many bad
Listen,
ones.
we
Really
need to
Christmas
have-
school.
I won't get into any detail, but we need to have a Zoom call with everybody that wants to come on about the fabled Panama City trip.
Oh,
We did-
yeah, that was good.
It's referenced in a lot of episodes, but you know, it's a lot of off air stuff. So we need to do that. And I want Coach Hall in on that too as well.
He was probably, I think they were scared they weren't going to make it back from that trip. Only blessing they had is they had us staying just far enough out of town that we couldn't jog in there. We probably would have. Yeah,
We've got to do that,
fun
DJ.
trip.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, that would be fun. Like a 15-man Zoom just to talk baseball and hang out a little bit. We always talk about this too, Donnie, is like getting together, and we can't play baseball anymore because we're too old, but at least maybe getting back together again.
We can play.
Yeah.
I'm in.
We need to do
throw.
another alumni game.
Yeah.
Game for sure.
Yeah, anytime. I'm game. I get out there and play with the little boys. Not y'all. I'm talking about the young kids. They'll probably beanball me. No, it's fun.
Yeah, so me and you would spend a lot of nights, Donnie. We'd be, you know, jumping into the batting cages really late at night. We'd hit till our hands were raw, man. I'll never forget those times. Like me and you, like, and that building was haunted, so we were probably, you know, walking among the ghosts and throwing BP to each other behind an L screen that probably we look back on now. We'd probably wonder what in the world we were throwing behind that thing for, and all the ricochets and
ricocheting them off the columns.
Yeah. Oh man, hey, try throwing off a mound in a hallway. Yeah, that was rough, man. I always felt bad for the catcher because if you were wild at all, they were going to get it in the back of the head.
It would come back at you from behind. That's for sure.
I remember
that was an interesting clubhouse.
Oh yeah, I was scared to death, man. I ain't gonna lie about it. Try spiking a curveball on cement, man. Just felt sorry for me.
The thing I probably hated most about that building was the stairwell, because Skinny would pretty much kill us running. I don't know if you guys ever participated in the stairwells, but he made a few people puke on those when you would run the stairwells, run around, run to the next floor, come down, and we do it for like 30 minutes straight. That usually weeded out the people that weren't cut out for our team.
No doubt.
So Donnie, you had what was your vehicle when you were at Temple?
You already know this one.
I know it.
You could probably tell our pregame song. So the great thing is David, I don't know if you know this, but you know, obviously the field was not right on the campus. So DJ and I had a little bit of a tradition. We would jump in my old 86 CJ7 Jeep. No power steering, no air conditioning, you know, manual steering, manual brakes, manual everything. And we'd fire up. What was the song we'd fire up? Do you remember?
Offspring.
Offspring. I can't remember the song though. I had some
separated
Offspring CD, and we would fire that thing up and crank it up and head down to the field. That was our pregame. It was like tradition. Every time we rode down, same song, same ride.
That's awesome. After you left, DJ's pregame song was "Song of the South" by Alabama. He loved that song. Still loves it to this day.
He was just missing me. He wanted to come on down. Those good times.
Another awesome time that I had in your Jeep as well was when you and David took me snipe hunting for the first time.
Must have been on Lookout Mountain or Signal or something.
That was at the battlefield.
Oh yeah, Chickamauga.
Yeah,
there's plenty of snipes out there. Did you ever get one, DJ?
I did not, man, but I remember diving into your Jeep and you taking off and leaving Billy Garrick in the road. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, jeez.
That's one of my favorite memories. Just the whole explaining.
Man, I forgot about that.
ESPN on Saturday mornings and all that. He was in. I mean, he was.
I think the big thing with me, because I was a little bit older, and I just loved playing. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If it rained, I used to tell people this when I coached for a little bit. I'd tell them if practice got rained out, I was in a bad mood because I wanted to play. It didn't care if it was a game or what. It was, you know, whether we were in the gym for a month straight because it always rained in Chattanooga.
Oh man.
But I just wanted to play, and I'm kind of the same way today. To tell you the truth, rainouts, I get mad. I just want to play ball. So
Donnie, talk a little bit about the little coaching experience that you had as you in the recent years here with baseball.
So it's funny. My son is 16, and he played, probably a mistake. I let him play a little T-ball for like the Y, which was horrible, and I couldn't even try to coach because there was a horrible. Nothing against women, but there was a lady coach that just was horrible, and I was just looking at it going, I can't even do this. Nothing against the Y, nothing against women. I know some women that outplay me, but so he didn't really care much about baseball. And it just was one of those things, like, my older brother, he's a musician. My son decided to play guitar, and he didn't really care anything about sports. So, and I never want to be one of those kind of dads that lives out the things they didn't do through their kids. So whatever they decide to do, I'd support them wholly. So we ended up getting into karate, and he got his black belt, and I almost did, till I broke my ankle again and decided I wasn't 10 years old. And yeah, I did a couple tournaments and I broke my ankle. But I unfortunately got divorced, which ended up being a good thing. But I got remarried and gained another son and a daughter through that. And Brad, my stepson, decided he wanted to play baseball. So I was like, yeah, do you want to play? We'll get into it. So coached him for about 3 years, and had a blast. Loved getting up there. We'd get up there and show the kids how to hit every once in a while, and tattoo a couple and pitch to them. And but me, even he's 16 now, so he was probably 10, 11, 12 in that range. Right up until junior high, I think, is about when he got into drum line. Now he does the quads. So but yeah, I coached, and even then it was like just keeping me from, I wanted to hit and play, and I'm not a sideline person. I want to get out there and throw the ball and hit it and run and slide. So but it's fun. So but I coached about 3 years doing that, and it was an absolute blast. I miss it. I envy you in a lot of ways, because I would love to be out there on the field coaching every day.
You should move up here and coach with me, buddy. That's your next step in there. Come up to Chicago when it's -50 and all that kind of stuff.
Come on down here. We'll do some spring training.
There you go.
I'm sitting on the porch.
Idea.
I'm sitting on the porch. It's I'm actually sweating.
Yeah.
December 14th.
David, you got any more questions for Donnie?
No, just a comment. My dad came and watched us play, I think, at West Georgia my freshman year. And that was kind of the first taste of college ball for him. And I remember him really bragging on you, man, just being like, man, your all's right fielder's really good, And like DJ said, that outfield that freshman year was unbelievable. And, I mean, you and Shelton and JP, and of course DJ as well, just unbelievable, man. But yeah, you were a great player. Do you remember like your stats or anything from those years?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, when I came in, I'd been playing a little bit of softball, so my hands were slow. I gripped it like a axe, it was real deep in my hands, and I could turn on an inside ball and cream it. But if you threw me something low and outside or a curveball, you can make me look pretty stupid. Mouse, what was his name? I don't know if
Chris Davis.
Chris Davis. I probably credit him for about 40 points on my batting average, because he worked with me doing soft toss. And a lot of people, you get down to high school level and things, they lob them. He wouldn't do that. I mean, he was throwing bullets at my knees, inside, outside, back, and he was working on my hands. So I went from a real deep grip to my hands and getting it out on my fingertips, which let me roll the bat over properly, and then I could drive those outside balls. I wasn't that, and I didn't have this big old step where I was launching forward. So if I misjudged it, I was so far out front, all I could do was throw the bat at it. I actually got to where I just picked my front foot up and put it straight back down. So even if I got faked out, I was still loaded, and I could still pivot and hit the ball. And that year I probably jumped. I was a little bit below 400 that year, I think. And probably lost a couple home runs because I lost a little bit of that inside power. But yeah, it was definitely improved. You know, him, as it's funny, that coaching from another player was probably what improved my hitting the most. But I don't remember a lot of my stats. I mean, I wasn't like a huge home run hitter or anything. You know, I hit a few. I think Toccoa Falls was probably one of my funnest games. I think I was like, I know I hit three or four home runs. I still got the baseball there at my mom's house. I was like 3 for 5 or 4 for 5 with 3 home runs or something. But that was a fun game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't a real big stat guy. It was, I want to say, if nothing else, I think the biggest piece that I remember is getting that Mr. Hustle award. You know, that was probably bigger than any stat, you know, because that's, if you always want to be remembered by one thing, it was no matter what I was hurt or tired or drove 2 hours to the game, it was, you know, I want to go 100% all the time. So hopefully I did that.
Man, and there's another dynamic to that, man. Like it's no joke when you had to drive and then get off that thing and play. That's
Yeah.
We were back there, you know, we were messing around, don't get me wrong, but like we didn't have to focus like you did, you know, we could just mess around and then go play a game. Like you were focusing and driving that whole time, getting off that thing and then playing a game, man, or two. It's nuts, man.
You don't understand the focus it takes to hit every piece of roadkill on the way. It was hard. The juicier, the better. Feel bad for the guy that had to clean those vans.
Oh, me too. Yeah, me too. Brian Howard had the booger ceiling or whatever back there. Ooh.
That's fun times.
Donnie, I actually gave Brian the link to this tonight, and I just checked my phone, and about an hour ago, he was asking for the link. He was going to jump on here. I think we missed him, but he was excited. He was like really wanting to get on here and talk to you tonight too. And I'm kind of bummed I missed him, but I didn't have my phone turned up, so he would have jumped on the show here tonight, and he would have added another layer to this whole dynamic here because
let me know anytime you want me back on it. I'll jump back on. I'll be
that would be a lot of fun, man. I think Brian really misses you and wanted to get on here really bad. He told me when you have Donnie on, you have to let me know, and I told him on Monday, I'm like, we got Donnie coming on Wednesday, and then crickets, and then he texted me at 8:17 when we're already in the show, so that's on you, Howard.
Yeah, tell him, let me know when he's on there. I'll get back on, no problem.
For sure, man. Yeah. So unless either of you have anything else, man, this has been a whole lot of fun. Thanks again, Donnie, for coming on, man. It's a shame our busy lives, we haven't seen each other since college, and man, you were a really good friend of both me and David's, and we definitely miss you, man. And get down to Florida. I know we say this a lot, but I seriously, when I get down to Florida, I got to stop and see you. And
come on in. We got plenty of room, pool, all that good stuff. So come on.
Can't beat that, man.
So got David, a pitch machine in the attic.
Oh, see, we'll pull it down. We'll do it like old times. That's awesome, man. So David, we'll get back on here soon, man. We'll see what we got. I think next Wednesday's trivia night. I think the kids are gonna be off of school next Wednesday night. So if we want to do trivia, I think, are your kids gonna be off next Wednesday? After they're done? Okay. Yeah. So they can be up a little bit later. So Lindsay's looking forward to giving us trivia night. And Donnie, I'm beating him at trivia night 2-1. I know you're not surprised by that at all, but
I would do no good at trivia.
But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to whooping you again, David. And then after next week, we have trivia. And then the following week, we'll do our Hall of Fame show, me and you, and we'll talk about the class of 2023 that Fred McGriff has just joined. And we'll see if anybody else will be added to that list. So everybody, thanks for listening to our podcast. Dirtbags and Pinstripes, like us on YouTube and follow us, and we appreciate it. And Donnie, it's been a pleasure, man. And have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.